Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to today's webinar on how to develop your game plan for career advancement. I'm Linda Lisanti, Editor-in-Chief of Convenience Store News, and I'll be the moderator for today's program. We'll get started in just a few moments, but first I have some quick housekeeping announcements before we begin. The materials in this webinar have been reviewed by our editorial staff. However, the views of our speaker and their organization are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Convenience Store News or its publisher Ensemble IQ. Next, I want to let you know that one of our goals is to make this session as interactive as possible. And so you can use the Q&A function on the left side of your screen below the presenter headshots to ask questions or submit comments throughout the program. I'll pose any questions on your behalf. Your identity will remain confidential to the audience. And if we don't have time to answer all the questions, we'll follow up with you after the session concludes via email. You can also use this Q&A section if you have any technical questions about the webinar itself, and you'll get a direct reply from our producer. And finally, one last housekeeping announcement. At the end of this event, we'll have an evaluation survey. We encourage you to provide feedback using this feature. And if you wish to review the webinar or share it with your colleagues, a replay will be available within about 2 hours on multiple platforms. Okay, now on to today's presentation. Convenience Store News' Future Leaders in Convenience program, which is now in its 8th year, is designed to celebrate and help develop the next generation of C-store industry leaders. Our Future Leaders Learning Lab webinar series equips participants with techniques and tools they can use to take their careers to the next level. Our Learning Lab session today focuses on taking ownership of your career growth and positioning yourself as a must-promote employee in your organization. To discuss how to transform from a job doer into an in-demand problem solver, we're pleased to have here with us today career development expert Colby Goodman. Through his work with both teams and individuals, Colby teaches emerging leaders how to evaluate their own self-awareness and empower themselves with better self-advocacy. His expertise has been leveraged by leaders from a diverse set of high-profile companies, such as Apple, Meta, Walmart, and the NFL. Welcome, Colby. So happy to have you here. Colby?
There we go. Linda, can you hear? I apologize.
Awesome. Great. Yeah,
it's not a virtual presentation without a technical difficulty. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Linda, for the awesome introduction. I appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here. Just a reminder to all you out there, I will be giving out the slides from today. So obviously, please feel free to take notes. As Linda mentioned, please feel free to drop some questions in the chat, but know that when this is all over, you're going to get a copy of all these slides for you to take home and leverage moving forward. So again, my name is Colby Goodman. I'm a certified career coach. My consultancy, The Job Hunter, I founded over 10 plus years ago. I've helped over 3,500 professionals land new jobs, get awesome promotions, make more money, work-life balance, all that fun stuff. I've done over 200 of these types of workshops. I'm a published author, and I've been featured across multiple high-profile publications. And I'm here today to help you take a little bit more control of your career. Like Linda mentioned, we're going to help you develop a game plan for meaningful career advancement. So today, we're going to go over kind of 3 big things. One is I want to help you learn why meaningful career growth requires more than just hard work and confidence. While that's important and imperative to success, it's not everything. So I want to equip you with the right mindset and, most importantly, actionable strategies that you guys can use today to take charge and take control of your careers. And lastly, I want to give you with some really powerful takeaways. First one will be helping you shift from a job doer to an in-demand problem solver. Next, we'll be equipping you with the 3-step framework for career advancement. And lastly is to help you build a personal brand and a tribe of champions that will work on your behalf to help you accelerate your career. So first of all, let's talk about why meaningful work growth requires more than hard work and confidence. again, making sure that you're not just simply going about this all day. We have to make sure that you're applying what you do, because there's only so many hours in the day. You can work as hard as you want, as long as you want. At some point, you're going to probably keel over. I know I would. And so our goal here is to say, if we all have the only 24 hours in a day, how do we make the most out of it? How do we make sure that we are sustainable in what we do? We don't burn out, and we're not overlooked by somebody who's working not simply harder than us, but also smarter than us. So we want to make sure that we don't fall into these traps. Like I said, working simply hardest. In all reality, efforts, they can get misaligned. They get into a place where you're working really hard, your head is down, you're doing the job, and you may be getting off course. We also know this is not extremely sustainable. It leads to burnout. It leads to missed opportunities. And you're also not aligning what you should be doing, at least strategically, for the organization. If we solely focus on task completion, if we solely focus on checking in the next box, or sending the next email, or presenting that next report, it really limits the kind of impact that we can have. If we focus on the doing and not the impact, we're going to definitely be missing out on a lot of awesome opportunities moving forward. And lastly, if we get hyper-focused and we put our heads down and we charge forward, we isolate ourselves. We build barriers around us, and we don't incorporate and engage others in the work that we do. And we're not building up that kind of influence or support around us that will absolutely hinder your ability to go farther faster, because there's nobody on your side to champion you moving forward. So what I want to help us do here today is to evolve the way we think about our careers, so we shoot for having careers that are on accident. You got picked for that job, your boss found a new job, or they retired, or nobody else wanted to raise their hand for that opportunity, into a place where you're having a career on purpose in all sense of the word. So I want to shift you into creative problem solving, right? Not simply just doing work, but to apply your expertise and your talents to making an impact through solving problems, resolving pain points, and making other people's lives better. I want you to do that with strategic goal setting, not simply just kind of reacting to what's happening on daily, weekly, monthly, or even yearly cycles in your career, but being really intentional with well-defined goals so that you have a clear direction in the short term and in the long term. And lastly, making sure that you are being proactive at building those champions around you. Nobody does this alone. We do not exist in vacuums. So it's absolutely imperative that if you want meaningful career advancement, you are building up your tribe, whether it's mentors or advocates, peers. These people are going to be those who are going to champion you, be your cheerleaders, and talk good behind your back, so that when that decision comes to give you that promotion, that raise, that opportunity on that exciting new project, it's not just one person making a decision, it's a tribe of people advocating on your behalf. So the big thing I want to help all of you do here today is to shift that mindset. I think early in our careers, we really start thinking of, okay, how do we do the job more? How do we work the hardest? I think that's really prevalent early in our careers for a couple of reasons. One, we just simply have the energy, and we have the time. I know, looking at myself back 15 years ago, yeah, I could stay pretty late. Yeah, I could probably go in early. Yeah, I could work through lunch, and didn't have anything at home that I was obligated to that would take me away from work. Fast forward to today, I'm not as young and spry as I used to be. I got a 3-year-old knocking down my door at approximately 4:55 every afternoon. And I got to work smarter in between that 8 to 5. And so as we evolve in our careers, we also need to evolve in how we do the job. So instead of working harder and grinding and completing the next task, I want you all to evolve into thinking about how to be the most impactful problem solver. Because people appreciate what the job is done, but we really internalize and will move forward how people make us feel and the pain they relieve for us. And lastly, if we become proactive problem solvers who are critically thinking about the issues that we're facing every day, you become a go-to resource for your employer for the most exciting, for the most interesting, and for the most profitable problems that your company is going to face. So, how do you shift this mindset? I would argue it's not the easiest thing to do, because we've had this job doing mindset since we were little kids, right? The traditional school system tells us to do the job, to do the work, and get rewarded. We're not really asked to solve a lot of bigger problems. Math problems, yes, but real world problems, not so much. So, as you shift your mindset into being a leader and into being a problem solver, looking at yourself not simply as a box checker, but again, as a solutions provider, right? How am I taking ownership of this problem? How am I trying to make the company, the team, the individual contributors' lives easier? How am I removing pain points? How am I, eliminating redundancies? How am I making the work more interesting, more fun, and positively challenging to the people around me? And making sure that you're taking accountability for that. Obviously, we know people who hold to their words are more respected, are more trusted. And I think a lot of times, especially in high profile ownership opportunities that work gives us, taking that accountability can be scary. So it's important that you take accountability for yourself and for your team. And with that, I think you'll give yourself and them better ownership to solve those problems and relieve the pain points of leadership, so you're acknowledged first when those great opportunities come to light. After today's session, I want you guys to take 5 minutes here, and I want you all to reflect on one current project that you're working on right now, where maybe you might be an individual contributor. Maybe you're just sitting in on behalf of another department. Maybe you don't feel comfortable raising your hand and voicing your concerns or your ideas. But I want you to acknowledge, where's one way that you could raise your hand and say, I want to help leading in solving this problem. And looking at, okay, what is my experience? What is my expertise? What is my given genius? Or what is your perspective on this problem that may not being seen by the others in the room, that you can contribute and start to shift from, I'm just doing my job, to I'm here to really help solve this problem. And in the eyes of leadership, this is where you're going to make the biggest difference, right? Between those who are simply checking the box to being somebody who is proactively relieving pain, right? Because in the eyes of leadership, job doers, they're needed. They're great. They get the job done, and they get a little bit of gratitude. They get an attaboy or an attagirl. But then ultimately that leader, that decision maker, moves on to the next thing, right? They are going to the other million other things that are left on that to-do list. But problem solvers do something that we all pay for on a daily basis, which is to remove pain. Whether it's an Advil or an aspirin, whether it's a quick lunch that is cheap and affordable, whether it's somebody who's going to change the oil in your car so you don't have to get under it this weekend, we tend to pay more attention and make more investment in the things that take away our pain. And you want to be doing that for your leadership. They're going to be indebted to you. And not only knowing that you've done the job, they're going to feel in their bones the value and the impact that you're making. And that emotional tie that you can have to people in charge through the problems you're solving and the pain that you're relieving is going to shoot you to the top of the preferred promotions list, so that you get more opportunities more often. So now that you are starting to shift your mindset from job doer into problem solver, how do we apply this on the short and the long-term basis, right? We all know that life has its own plans for us. And so if we're not setting goals, if we're not being intentional with our time and our horizons, things are going to get away from us. Fun fact, it is already May, which I simply cannot believe. And before we know it, you're going to wake up and it's Thanksgiving. So make sure that you are setting intentions and taking action to plan for the short and for the long term. So as cliche as this is, as much as we hate hearing the question, well, what do you want to do in 5 or 10 years in any interview or any annual review? It is important to sit down and ask yourself these questions. why, making sure that as you have the short term to get you where you want to go today, tomorrow, and next week, the long-term goals that you want are going to help you right the ship and maintain a bit of a North Star for you, right? So it's important to have the balance, or else you end up spending a lot of time and energy and getting in a place you didn't want to be. Or you wake up in a year with lofty goals, but you didn't take enough consistent small action to get there along the way. So as big and hairy and as audacious as this question is what do I want my long-term career goals to be? I would challenge you to ask yourself a few questions, do some journaling, speak it out loud, put it into your voice memo, throw it into ChatGPT. And let me give you some examples there of questions you can ask yourself and to answer to maybe give yourself more clarity. Right? So number one is, what specific actions can I take in the next 6 months to position myself for a new role or new promotion? What skills can I learn or improve today that will help me advance in my career over the next 1 to 3 years? And lastly, and I think maybe most importantly, what metrics, what numbers can I consistently measure and track to know that I'm making progress towards the career that I want over the next year? I think these are really good examples, really good questions to start with to get those brain juices flowing a little bit. Helps you understand where you want to be, what you're missing, and how you know you're getting there, and have gotten there at the end. I recommend revisiting these goals every 3, 6, 9, 12 months on a quarterly basis, just because you want to make sure that your North Star is still in the right direction. Does it match your lifestyle, right? Did you get married? Did you have a kid? Did you move across the country? Does it match your ambitions, right? Are the problems you want to solve tomorrow still the problems you want to solve yesterday? And are you still interested and engaged in the work and the problems that you're solving? Now, the big mistake I see here when it comes to helping professionals plan out and achieve long-term goals is they set goals that they are not 100% control over. Meaning, a bad goal that you should not have is get a promotion in 6 months, because you don't have control over that. You don't make the decision if you get that promotion. Now, there are things you can do to get yourself better aligned with it, but having a goal that you're not 100% control over and then not achieving that goal isn't fair to you. So instead of saying, I want a promotion in 6 months, say, I want to lead to completion 3 projects that help increase margins 10% in 10% of our stores. Get as specific as possible in the things that you have total control over, so that hopefully in the end, the things you don't have control over take care of themselves. Now, I think when we talk about goals here, it's obviously a very popular topic. I'm not going to be the first or the last person you're going to hear talk about goals. But a lot of things that I see myself and my clients doing here that is helpful and hurtful. One is they try to eat the whole elephant. Don't. Again, making $20,000 more a year, getting your master's degree, becoming a C-level executive in your company. That's the elephant. But it takes a lot of small, consistent bites at the apple, so to speak, to achieve that. So as you go along the way, making sure that you have achievable, measurable milestones. You have goals. I want to lead that project to fruition. But then you have milestones, right? You have weekly meetings. You have check-ins. You are hitting these milestones along the way that help you know you're heading in the right direction. And these not only help you understand that you're going in the right direction, but also it is amazing motivation and exciting progress that will keep you going, even when, especially when things get hard. I would also ensure that the goals that you have align with where your organization and the industry is going, right? This is going to be helpful in making sure that you're getting what you want out of your career by giving your employer what they need out of you as a productive member of the team. And if there's misalignment there, there's even deeper questions that you should be asking yourself, but ensuring that there is parallel goals and North Stars, so to speak, in the long-term vision of where you want to go and how you're going to impact your organization in getting One thing I would encourage you all to do here is to make a bit of a roadmap. Write down the milestones on a 6 or 12-month roadmap to achieving one of those short-term goals, right? It is small, consistent action. Something is, think about the biggest things you've ever accomplished. The common things are your college degree, and maybe, if you're a homeowner, for me, it was buying my house, right? And in both things, I didn't just wake up one day and do the whole thing, right? I didn't take 8 semesters of classes in 1 week and be done. It took small, consistent steps. So do yourself a favor and ramp up the timeline and ramp down the daily commitment to make sure that you can achieve on the long term. Now, one huge mistake that I see too many people falling into is letting the urgent get in the way of the important. And I think this is something we can probably all really relate to is the urgent. I would say, look at your email inbox right now. These are all urgent requests. I think we could all agree they're probably not all important, but they sure as all heck are urgent. So making sure that you don't let those urgencies get in the way of the important. An easy way for you to do this is to, in this day and age, literally block out your calendar. Put in an hour or two every week where you are not committing to anything else, and you commit to not letting anything else creep into that time to work towards your goals. You close your Outlook, you close your email, you turn off all your notifications, you go into your sensory deprivation flow state, and you work on that big goal. And it's kind of crazy how much you can achieve with short bursts of hyper focus. So now that you are understanding how to be a problem seeker, now that you know that those big, hairy goals don't seem as daunting or impossible anymore, I want to make sure that the people around you are understanding and, more importantly, appreciative of the difference that you're making. It is kind of like the cliche of the tree, right? If a tree falls in the forest and there's nobody around, it doesn't make a sound. I would say if you're doing awesome things and you're the expert, but nobody knows about it, do you make a difference? And I think there's philosophical arguments on both sides. But in order to get to where you want to go, you got to make sure that you're positioning yourself as that go-to expert and people are actually coming to you. Now, what I see a lot is that people are doing so much, they are impacting so much, and they are achieving so much that they don't really recognize it anymore. Life comes at you fast. And again, all of a sudden it's May. So making sure that you're showcasing your accomplishment, that you are pointing to yourself as somebody making a difference in a very authentic way, so that you're demonstrating impact and you're measuring your results in a way that people will pay attention. Now, what I found, again, is that the biggest issue that people come to me have as they struggle to grow their own careers isn't that they lack experience or they lack examples of great work. So they just don't remember them. So what I want all of you to do is to start sending yourself a weekly status report email. So every Friday around lunchtime, I want you to open up your email. I want you to open up the Notes app on your phone, and I want you to take 5 minutes, and I want you to write down 5 wins for the week and 5 lessons learned. And that's it. And then send it off, put it away. After a month, you're going to have examples of 20 awesome things that you've done. You're going to have examples of 20 lessons you should be learning, maybe ways you should stop kicking yourself or hindering yourself in your career. And if you take 5 minutes a week, it's going to accelerate your ability to advocate for yourself in interviews, for the next project, in your annual review, because you've taken just a little bit of time on a regular basis to simply record what you've done so you can tell the decision maker moving forward. Next is, now that you've gathered the information, you have all the evidence, you got to make sure people see it and know it. Personal branding is kind of the ever-present buzzword of the day. And I think it's really important because you are only as strong as your reputation. And yes, you should be advocating for yourself internally, but making sure that you're doing it externally across the industry is important as well. Top places you can do this obviously are going to be your resume. I think that should be updated and optimized at all times because you never know when that next amazing opportunity is going to come across your inbox. And making sure that your LinkedIn is ready to go because you don't know who is out there looking for your exact expertise and your exact experience, but right now cannot find you because you're not raising your hand saying, I'm really good at this. I can solve these problems. Let's talk about how I can help you. So this weekend, I want you to take just 30 minutes to update your resume, dust it off a little bit, make sure that all the great projects are on there, all the great differences that you made are there, that you're qualifying and quantifying your impact so that you're ready just in case that awesome opportunity comes across your desk. And lastly, now that you have all your marketing together, let's use the power of the people around you to be advocates and marketers on your behalf. So ensuring that you are buddying up with key influencers internally and externally in your company. I think simply going to them and asking questions about them is a great way to get people on your side. Don't ask for advice. Don't ask somebody to be your mentor. Those are big, hairy questions that people shy away from. Understand their process. Understand their journey. How did you get in this industry? Why this industry? What mistakes did you make? What would you do differently? Just ask them about themselves. The cliche is true. We all like to talk about ourselves. So ask as much as you can about them to get them endeared to you. Because with that, then they're going to be advocating on your behalf. They're going to be keeping their eyes and their ears out for opportunities that you'd be great fits for, that you can have the most impact for. And they're going to be able to spread their web of influence and their network way farther than you ever could. Next, you want to make sure that people making decisions know about you. So making sure that you are advocating for yourself to these individuals, that you're giving regular updates, that you're giving postmortems to the projects, whether they're good or bad. Keeping them informed and communicating with them on a regular basis is going to make sure that you stay top of mind. Don't assume somebody's going to see the fruit of your labor and give you credit. You got to take that a little bit on your own. And you can do that authentically by not saying, hey, look at me, I'm amazing. Be like, hey, this is what we did. And this is how it impacted this department. This is how it cut down these costs. This is how it drove this kind of profit. Talk about how your work impacts the business. And if you can, say, well, now that we're making more money, you're going to hit your numbers and the investors are going to really love you. And so talk about how you're helping them look good as well. Today, I want you to identify and reach out to one financial mentor or champion in your organization and set up a coffee meeting, set up a lunch, set up a virtual happy hour over Zoom just to get to know them. What I can tell you is these people are way more open to having conversations than you think, mainly because they were once in your shoes and they reached out to somebody who helped them out. And we all know that the more help we ask for, the more help we get. And as we get help, we also know we should pass it along. These people are willing and able to help you. You just have to ask. So today, I know we went over a lot in a relatively short amount of time, so I appreciate you all showing up here today. We went over why meaningful career growth requires more than just a little bit of hard work and a lot of confidence. The goal here today was to equip you with the right mindset and the actionable strategies to help you take charge of career advancement starting the moment we conclude this call here today. And we helped you shift from being a job doer to an independent problem solver, helped you create a framework for sustainable career advancement, and gave you some tips here on how to build a personal brand and to cultivate a tribe of champions who will market and sell you on your behalf. Linda, I know we might have a couple of questions here, so we'll go over that. As we go over the questions here, I want to invite all of the attendees here to connect with me. There's my email address on the screen. As well, if you take out your phones and scan the QR code, you can find me on LinkedIn. If you want a copy of today's slides, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and message me saying, hey, Colby, I saw you on the webinar today. Would you mind sending me over a PDF of the slides? And I'll get those to you as soon as I can.
Thanks, Colby. I love that comment about urgent versus important. And I've actually started this year using that focus time on the calendar, and it's been a game changer for sure. So that really resonated with me. Yeah, just a reminder to our audience, if you have questions for Colby, you can submit those questions using the Q&A feature on the left side of the screen. And if we run out of time before getting your questions, we'll get back to you. So don't hesitate to answer questions. Ask questions and you'll get a response after the event, because it looks like we have about time for one question. So one of our questions is, what if you have a micromanager boss who, really likes to maintain control. Any suggestions on navigating that sort of situation where you want to step up and take more responsibility and lead projects, but you're getting a little pushback from somebody?
Yeah. It's hard because you want to, that person is, I would argue that person is acting from extreme fear. They don't want you to screw it up. They don't want to be seen as somebody who can't do the job. So I think if you can have an honest conversation with them and say, hey, I know you want me to do good in here. You're telling me what to do. What are you so afraid of happening? What is the worst case scenario here if this doesn't go the way we planned? And you at least get them to speak out loud and just kind of voice their concerns. And then your job as an expert about what you do can say, okay, cool. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to make sure that's not going to happen. And here's how, and give them a breakdown of the steps. And then also say, cool, I'm going to check in with you after step 3 and after step 6. And before we, send that final deliverable over to the client, I want you and I to schedule 15 minutes together, and I'm going to go over everything that I've created for us. So to develop a sense of trust and to say, hey, I got this. Let me do this for us so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. I hear what you're saying. I hear your concerns, and I got it. I think if you can start to do that, and it might take a couple times for you to get that, but if you can build that trust and then deliver excellence, deliver to their standard, then hopefully at that point they'll kind of back off.
That's great advice. Well, that is all the time we have. I want to thank you for sharing your knowledge and thank our audience for their time. We hope that you're all leaving today with lots of insights and tools that you can apply immediately to elevate your career and set yourself up for long-term growth. Please remember to fill out the evaluation survey that will automatically appear on your screen at the conclusion of the event. We really value your feedback. And our next Future Leaders Learning Lab session is going to be on September 9th at 2 p.m. And we're going to talk about how to receive and give feedback more effectively. So I encourage you to look out on our website for registration for that. Thanks again, Colby, and have a great rest of the day, everyone.